so good to see you again. Thank you for bringing in this collection that now you said you found this at the back of a closet when...
That's correct. I'm in the process of moving relatively soon.
Yeah.
And like many people do before they move, they go down, they're sifting through what to keep, what to leave. And this was in an old plastic tote.
Right.
At the back of a basement behind other things. I mean, it was kind of that classic story. My dad had about 12 to 15 binders previously.
Right.
That we ended up donating to the Spellman Museum. So this was a surprise.
Yeah, to find more.
Yeah.
So the material that you donated to Spellman previously, would you say, looking at the numbers, were they earlier, were they later? What
there were
compared to?
There were a very few that were earlier.
Okay.
Most were in the same general time zone, time frame that I remember. I didn't do a highly sophisticated inventory of those.
Right.
There were so many. There's a lot going on.
Well, oftentimes it's really not needed. I know you sent me that Excel sheet, but did you build that yourself?
I did.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
it was a lot of time. I mean, it's
Yeah.
only this many binders, which doesn't look like that many.
Right.
But
because there was that was very, very thorough.
Different tabs and totals. And
So I mean, it's terrific and it's helpful in a sense to get an idea of everything. But oftentimes it's going to be, because what we do as dealers, as auctioneers, is we study the catalogs, we study this material. So we've studied the numbers, but we also know, just from looking at the books, what's essentially in here. So the amount of work that was put into building the Excel sheet, while it is, if it makes you kind of...
It's a good starting point. I wanted just kind of a general sense. I didn't anticipate it as being sort of an operational document.
Right.
It was more along the lines of what's going on here,
right.
and where can I get a starting point for talking about this?
Yeah.
Although I will say what it did also provide me with is an opportunity to look online, look at dealers, get a sense of what their retail, and obviously understanding that a resale or auction value would be a lot different.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But nonetheless, again, it's a step one, and being able to initiate a conversation found it helpful.
And it's always important to know what you're selling. So getting as detailed as the Excel sheet is helpful if you want to really educate yourself on what you have, but it can be so difficult if you don't have kind of, we call this bread and butter material, because this stuff here is, there's no mystery to it. There's, it is what it is. Earlier U.S. can definitely be a lot more daunting. It can be a lot more...
19th century, early 20th
it can be a lot
century.
more difficult. So there's a ton of misinformation out there.
And at the level, even beyond that, once you do get into this bread and butter stuff, I suspect that different dealers or different collectors or auction places might value them differently to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's places that just need this because they're selling it at auction. Like ourselves, we market this stuff so we sell it on consignment for people. This album would be probably sold intact. I mean, the beginning would be taken out because it doesn't really make much sense to go with the back of the book. There are a couple of
loose odds and ends in there.
So, but largely this would be sold intact. Now, compare that to a show dealer or some other kind of dealer who needs it for their inventory because they've got clients that say, hey, I need this stamp, or hey, I need that block. It takes them a lot longer to sell everything, but ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to realize a little bit more because they're selling each item individually. If this item, for example, has a value of $5, if we auction it off in the greater scheme of this book, it's not going to make the $5. It's going to get lost in the collection. But the turnaround time is almost instantaneous. If it's sold to or consigned to a dealer that does mail order stock or something like that, or has an online store where they're doing buy it now, it'll come closer to that $5 price, but it may take a year to sell. If you're really kind of looking to turn stuff over quickly, that's not the way to go, but the price points are
can be radically different.
Massively. This is a well put together collection, and Mystic is Their prices are aggressive.
Yeah, I
They're
learned
aggressive,
a little bit about that.
But their quality control is top notch. So they may charge much more than any other dealer would, but if they say something's XF, it's XF. Their quality control is very good, but you're definitely paying for that. They are one of those dealers that they're selling each one of these individually, so the prices are much, much higher. If you were to buy this book intact, it would be...
it's on the spreadsheet. Each book is added up to quite a bit of money on the Mystic prices.
Yeah.
I did go through, and that's one reason why it took me a lot of time. I mean, I really sat down every morning before work for about a half hour or so and just, one foot in front of the other. I looked up every single one online. And just put it in, logged their price.
Yeah. Is this their price, the $4,300?
That, I believe, don't quote me, I'd have to look at the spreadsheet,
Right.
but that was their total for this binder.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So their top line
all right.
Was approximately $4,400. And that's just this one. The whole collection with the Mystic prices was about between $15,000 and $17,000 for this. Now this I know is probably, definitely a fraction of that, a real fraction.
Yeah.
That is their very aggressive markup, retail, list price.
Yeah.
So I'm very mindful of that.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that because I looked at the Excel sheets and you're kind of right on the money with when we spoke on the phone, just like between $2,000 to $4,000 is the actual value of this collection.
Right.
So to hear that $17,000 was spent on it, people really have to be careful where they buy material from.
Yeah.
Everything in here will be accurate. It will be as described because Mystic are very good at that. It just depends on how much you want to pay for that.
Right. If there's and I think that's would be
Take a look at the next
sure
one.
thing that probably would reflect the sophistication of the collector.
Yes.
Somebody who's got is looking for that one piece, probably willing to pay a lot more.
It depends because there's a lot of dealers that do sell individual things, and honestly, I've seen people buy entire albums from us to just take 2 items out and then resell the album for the same price because they need a couple of those stamps, and it is so difficult to buy this stamp individually in a plate block of 4 because it's so cheap. Not many people do it, so Mystic is the only place for it.
Yeah.
You can't buy stuff like that unless you're getting it from the post office at the exact time, and this largely here is postage.
Yeah.
Now, so this would have to be counted as face value and sold as such.
Yeah.
And we're looking at between $2,000 to $4,000 face value for something that was spent $17,000.
Yeah. My dad was an acquirer, not a collector. He, although I will say, I think he was really interested in the topics.
Yes, topical
he had a lot of airmail.
Incredible.
There was a lot of cultural figures, music, film, art. He was also, and as we move into the other binders, you're going to notice he was really interested in the full sheets. So this one's exciting. And I love to tell this story. These sheets used to be worth, I'm sure, from Mystic, there's the price.
So $235 is the price. That actually, depending on when he bought this, that's actually a reasonable price because these used to sell for $300. Now they sell for like $60, $70, $80. But this is a Legends of the West error sheet. Mm-hmm. So what it is they put this photo of Bill Pickett here. Yeah. This is actually Bill Pickett's brother.
Oh, really?
So they had to recall this souvenir sheet and reissue it. The easiest way to tell is because they look kind of similar with the mustache and the hat and everything, is he's frowning. Bill Pickett, it will be smiling.
Okay.
So you always got to look for, in this sheet, if he's frowning here, you've got a $60 to $90 item. If he's smiling, it's just face value.
Interesting.
But yeah, looking at all this, 32-cent sheets and everything, this is all
Marilyn Monroe, Cary
postage,
Grant, Andy Warhol. There's a lot of jazz musician sheets in there as
Yeah.
well. Early Hollywood stars, I remember that one. And I will say, over time, really enjoyed the process of, I had 2 screens and I'm looking up with one
I'm not going to argue that it's fun.
like learning a lot of random people
Yeah.
that I did not know about, early historical figures, obscure heroes of the
Yeah.
American Revolution that I'd not heard of, things like that.
So, this book is all forever stamps. Now,
Yeah.
forever stamps have been a hot topic lately because there's so many forgeries out there. So, whether it's all the different countries manufacturing fake forever stamps to essentially circulate into the USPS Postal Service and disrupt their profits or just make a quick buck themselves. However, what you've got here is everything is sealed in the original USPS packaging.
Yep.
These are all going to be genuine. So forever stamps in this condition, in the original packaging, are selling at over face value.
Oh, interesting.
So you got $100 in forever stamps sealed. You can sell them on eBay for like $120, $130. So this is typically for postage. We've been on eBay, 25, 26, 27 years. I forget what it is now. It's so long. We've found the sweet spot for postage. So it's $250 is the maximum lot size that you can create where people will pay the closest to full face value. Any larger than that, $300, $400, $500, and there's going to be like a line of depreciation on your returns for the material. So smaller lots, $100, $50, they're going to pay maybe 80% of face value.
Sure.
$250, they'll still pay 80%. $300, maybe 70%. $400, 60%.
Right.
So for lots like these, we like to count out $250 face value and sell it in batches like that, because anything larger, it's going to realize less for the consigners. It's going to realize less for everybody.
Sure.
So this book is significantly more valuable than those books, even though it's later on, just because of the forevers sealed in the original packaging.
And we looked at this one?
We did.
Yeah, we did.
So I believe this is the last one here, which probably, if they're all in Scott order, is going to be forevers. Also, it is. Yes. So same thing.
He, interestingly, had in this binder, and that went to a somewhat. I don't know why, but he got doubles of everything. Almost everything.
Smart. Because these, I don't know what they would have been bought at. Hopefully, kind of just a little premium over freight.
He probably.
We won't ask.
It's a safe bet that he overpaid.
All right, but you can at least get a closer return on the investment on the 2 forever stamp books than you can with the other material,
Right.
because they're going to hold their value and even appreciate in value with the postage rates.
Yep.
Just skyrocketing these days. These are actually the only things in these books that are going up in value at such a dramatic rate.
Right. The face value is going up.
Yeah. So, Matt, thank you so much for showing this to us. What were you looking to do? Were you looking to, again, donate? Or I know you've consigned with us before. We can take these on consignment under that same contract if you'd like. Or
I think more interested in terms of priority.
Yeah.
Well, let me begin by saying open to your input, right? But I think primarily interested in a one-off.
Yeah.
Maybe more interested in what you think about that in that context.
Okay.
If it makes sense to do it as a consignment, not terribly opposed, but that would be leaning in the direction of sort of a one-off. But if there's, it depends what the delta is there.
Right. Let me take a look at the Excel sheet again.
Sure.
We'll do that kind of off camera, and then we'll find out what the face value is, and we can make you an offer based on the face value of the collection, because that's going to be holding the price up. But we'll look at the Excel sheet. Do you know the total face value off the top of your head?
I don't think I put a column. I think I put the face value in the description column.
Okay.
So I didn't. I mean, it is possible to go through.
Right, and tally it.
And tally that
We'll
up.
have to figure that out, because we need to know. I wouldn't be able to give you a fair offer on this collection without knowing the total face value, and then and then we'd figure that out. Of course, the forever stamps would be figured at a different percentage than the regular material, because the regular material is probably going to be about 40% of face.
Yeah.
The forever stamps can be valued at more than that because they realize more than that.
Sure.
So.
Okay,
Terrific.
That's good to know.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, and
You're welcome.
looking forward to taking a look and doing what we can for you.
You got it. Thanks for taking the time to look at them,
Absolutely.
and we'll take it from there.